Hey guys, welcome back to Tomies-Vibe. So in today's video, we're gonna be ranking my recently read books. I haven't read much, but these are the ones that I'm gonna be ranking today with you guys, and I'm gonna show you guys if it's a good recommendation or a bad recommendation, and we're gonna rank them from my least favorite to my absolutely top picks. So these are the books that I have physically. I don't have many of them. I only have 4 from the list that we're gonna be ranking today, just because books are expensive and I can't afford all of my books. So I usually just download a PDF or I go to the bookstore and things like that, and I just download them online, which is just a lot easier. Yet I don't like reading online. I prefer reading in like pages, so I can flip them and I can feel like the book and the texture. I don't know, it makes it more interesting to read the book than having to flip it online, because it's just not interesting at all. But even if you're not a bookworm like me, or you are, or you just want a new recommendation for a book, this is a video for you. So I hope it's fun and it's helpful for you. So now let's get started. Starting off with A Dare by Elle Kennedy. It's a fun, light-hearted contemporary romance which follows the story of Connor and Taylor, and their chemistry is just off the charts. This book makes me think of the fun and flirty conversations you have with someone special, like when you're asking for someone's Instagram and you start talking to them, or you're talking to your crush on the phone. It gives off the same vibes, so if you like those kinds of things, this book is for you, so you should check it out. Next is Perfecto Mosos, which lies in a thriller, and it's a mystery series full of secrets and lies. The plot twist kept me hooked, and I always loved trying to put the pieces together to make up the whole ending of the book. This is another book that I had to download the PDF, so I don't have it physically. Let me tell you the story time about this book. I was really bored and I tried to download any book, and I found this one and I was like, the title was funny, like Perfectos Mentirosos, like Perfect Liars. I was like, it's pretty interesting. I don't know if the book is like, how do you call it? It's translated into English. I've never read it in English. I only read it in Spanish. But I downloaded it and I was so hooked. Like, the story was super fun. Like, I always love these secrets and like thriller books and things like that, and it was romance too. Like, it had both of them, so I loved it from the beginning. When I started reading it, I loved it. I started reading it, I ended the book, and then at the end of the book, I thought it was only one book, right? Because it didn't say like it was a series. I found out at the end of the book I ended up in a cliffhanger. And then when I end up the book, it says in the bottom, I hope you like this book. Stay tuned until I post the other book. It's like, you know, when you're watching a series on Netflix and you're like super like into it, and then it goes and it says end of the series, and it tells you wait until March of 2028 until the next season. And I'm like, what? You made me all like this just to end up not seeing the final results? Well, either way, I still waited. The book came out and I didn't like the second book. I mean, I didn't finish it. I only started reading it, but I just didn't have the same passion. I was so disappointed that I think I just started hating it. But just because of that, the book is amazing. I would totally recommend it. And yeah, it's just based off on like a friend group, and it has like many lies and secrets. And yeah, I still would totally recommend. And it has like a lot of romance, but like really good romance. And I'm like, I loved it. I would totally give it a shot if you like thriller and romance together, like Harley Quinn, things like that. I would totally recommend. Finally, we're gonna start talking about books that I have physically. So this is Anthem by Ayn Rand, and it's a novel that explores themes like individuality and freedom in a dystopian society. It is a quick read, but it has a powerful punch with philosophical insights. As you can see, it's a really small book. I read it in a day. It's really good. I really recommend this if you're into philosophical topics and you like things like politics stuff like that, I would totally recommend this book. Reading this made me reflect on how important it is to stay true to yourself even when society dictates otherwise. I appreciate how Rand challenges societal norms and emphasizes the importance of self-discovery. However, the writing style of this book is pretty dense, so it's not everyone's cup of tea. But if you enjoy deep, reflective reads, this is the one for you. Now, one of my favorite books, which is in my top 5 of this ranking, is The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. This story is of enduring love. It's both heartbreaking and heartwarming. Noah and Alice's love story stays with you long after you finish reading this book. I've read the book only once. I've seen the movie several times. Every time I go on a flight, I always watch that one because it's the one that they always have there. It's a really good book and I would totally recommend it. I love the emotional depth and timeless appeal of this book. The narrative is beautifully written, but it can be quite depressing, so I always end up crying. Like when I see the movie and when I read this book, I always ended up like having one tear drop falling off my eyes. Well, they wouldn't fall off anywhere else, but you know what I mean. So have your tissues ready. If you're in the mood for a poignant love story, this is the one for you. Now comes They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is a really beautiful yet heartbreaking story about living your life to the fullest. It's a really sad story because when I first saw it, it said they both die at the end, but I thought that it was like an ironic thing. They always do like, oh, they both die at the end, but they never end up dying. Well, this was not the case. I got really depressed when I finished reading this. It was super sad. Well, it follows the story of Mateo and Rufus, which they meet at their last day of living, and it's really sad. This makes you reflect on your life and how valuable the time and connections with people are, and it's really sad story, but it's really lovely. Like the whole like way they start connecting, and they have really similar things, and they create like this bond before dying. It's really pretty. It's like, it's sad, but it's beautifully written and makes it so like mind-blowing. The characters are really relatable. It's a really deep and profound story. It's really touching and it's really depressing. Like when I was getting to the last pages or like the last chapters, I got really emotional with it, but it's all filled with hope and it teaches you to live each day like it's your last day and enjoy it to the fullest. So if you want a book that stays with you, this is the one. This book always reminds me to cherish the moments that I have with my loved ones, because you never know when it might be your last one. Now coming on number 3 is one of my favorites, and it's a love story, and it's The Love Hypothesis. I also read this on a PDF and I don't have it in paper, but it's a delightful story of romance but set in academia. It's really beautiful. I loved it. One of my favorite ones, and I absolutely love the unique setting and the quirky characters. It's the best. I always hope like my university life is like that, but that always happens in books and in movies, and that's it. So I can't get my hopes up, but it's absolutely adorable. I love the chemistry between Olivia and Adam. They are fantastic together. The story is heartwarming, but it's also super funny. It has some funny parts to it. And the only downside to this book is that some parts are a bit cliche, but overall the book is really amazing. I loved it, and then when I started, I couldn't stop. I just had to keep reading and it's amazing. This book reminds me how love can surprise you even when you least expect it. So for number 2, I have this book. I can also have it in paper. Is Frankenstein. So this is one of my favorites. It's my number 2 to read. It's Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I never remember the writer, so I have to look at the book because I don't know. This book explores deep themes like ambition, humanity, and the consequences of playing God. It's both chilling and thought-provoking. I love this book, and it's a must-read for those who love classic literature. So, fun fact, or just like a story time, I want to tell you how I got this book. So we were in my English class, my AP, no, it wasn't AP yet, it was English class, and I don't know, well, it was in high school. I've been to many high schools, so that's a story for another video, but we were at the end of the year. I think we were almost ending, or we at least finished like an exams and everything, and my teacher says, oh, we have like this room which we're gonna empty because we're gonna use it for something else, and it's full of books. I think it was a library before it. I don't really know like the actual story of why they were gonna close that room, but it was full of books, like all around. It had boxes full of books. It was like everywhere, and the whole class went in there, and we were just looking for books, and we could take how many books we wanted, as many as we wanted, like any. So I found Frankenstein, and I was like, I have to get it. So yeah, that's how I got Frankenstein, just for like story time. I was fascinated by the relationship between Victor Frankenstein and his creation. The book goes in depth into moral and ethical dilemmas, and it's a really compelling story. It makes you think, and it's just a true classic. So for the number one, for my favorite book ever and the best one that I could recommend to anybody, The Silent Patient. This book is amazing. It's a psychological thriller, and it's the best thing that I have ever read. Like, it's such a good book. It's super big though. It's pretty big. Like, if you guys are not used to reading, maybe it's a bit big, but this, I'm not used to reading that much either, but I literally never realized how big this book was, because I was just sitting there reading and reading each chapter, like trying to figure out what was happening. Like, I can't like describe how I felt reading this. It's amazing. So the story is about Alicia, and she's a painter, and she got accused of murdering her husband. And after she got accused and she got into prison, or the asylum, she stopped talking and she doesn't speak. So nobody knows if she actually murdered the husband. And so the story is about her psychologist trying to figure out why is she not speaking, and about the case, and making her trying to speak. So that's the whole book, like the whole topic of the book. Okay, the book has the biggest plot twist ever. Like, I'm a person who always thinks forward, like thinks ahead of herself, and I was always trying to figure out the ending of the book. I had so many endings to this book you could never imagine. Like, I had every single thing. I was like, oh, this is this because of that. Oh, this is this because of that. Wrong. It was all wrong. The book is amazing. The plot twist, incredible. I literally had to stop reading and like analyze what happened. Like, what? I was amazed. It was the greatest book ever. I love it. I also love like psychological thrillers and movies like that, so it was like more to me. Like, I liked it a lot more because that's the type of books that I read. But to anyone that reads this, I think they would like love it. So yeah, this is one of my best ones. Well, this is my top number one book to read. I would recommend it to anyone. So that was the ranking of my recently read books. We've reached to the end of the video, and I'm super glad that you guys got to see this with me. So if you have read any of these books, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know your opinions, if they're the same as me or they're the contrary. I would like to know. Also, if you have any recommendations for new books for me to read, I would love it. So thank you guys for watching this video. Please comment, subscribe, like, follow my Instagram account too, and thanks for watching.